Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
What is poppin', y'all? It is your man, Cloudboy Bales, and welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly, where today, I cover lots of sports, like Packers, Badgers, Bucks, Brewers. Those are my main four, but obviously we have another college basketball team in my hometown of Milwaukee. It's Marquette Golden Eagles, and of course, I follow Marquette, my whole life. I've always been kind of like, I follow the Badgers my whole life because that's what most people follow. But yeah, Marquette is my hometown team. So, of course, I follow them too. I've been to a couple games. The atmosphere at those games are actually better than Badger games, in my opinion. They have way better fans, I'll be honest. But what's crazy is this is the first time. Now, Marquette they're ranked 14th. And I think it's good to put them there because I want them to be undervalued right now. This might be the first time we actually see a Marquette team that has a chance to actually do something. And what's crazy is, we've been waiting to see that for a long time. It's been 20 years since Dwayne Wade took that team to the finals. They unfortunately lost to Kansas in the championship game, but it's still an unbelievable run. But there are some great things that are going to happen to the future of this Marquette Golden Eagles team. Of course, it starts with the hiring of Shaka Smart last year. Now, obviously Marquette, they were I think 19-12 last year. I think that's how they finished their record. But it was a tough year. But it was a fresh start. They made the tournament. They unfortunately lost in the first round and got absolutely destroyed by UNC. But realistically, UNC made the championship game, so I don't really feel as bad anymore. I just think Marquette at the time was still young. They still had a lot of chances. And you know what? Marquette was still not playing the greatest going into the tournament. So you know what? I'm not as disappointed, but this is very interesting to just see what's been going on. But it's exciting. This is a new era for Marquette basketball. After Shaka Smart got fired from Texas, he got his opportunity to come home to his home state of Wisconsin. He's from Oregon, Wisconsin, which is kind of near Madison, if you don't know where that is. But yeah, when I was like, okay, Marquette actually might be good in the future. What's crazy is all these guys are young. They still got probably at least one more year of playing at Marquette, which is crazy just to think about. But what's crazy is this new philosophy that Shaka Smart has with this defensive. He's been known for getting guys that can play good defense. He knows that. But it's going to be interesting. These guys can also show a lot of offense, and they are one of the most well-balanced teams I think I've ever seen in my life. A lot of it has to go with who is commanding this offense. So let's go over what I think will happen. So regardless, Marquette right now is 17-5. Right now I think they are tied for first in the Big East with Providence and Xavier. Right now, I think those are the three best teams in the Big East right now. I know UConn was ranked pretty high earlier, but now they started to lose a lot of Big East games, so I'm not really sure if they are the team that we are. It's crazy. After Jay Wright left Villanova, it's been pretty much certain that someone is going to rise out of the Big East and take over. And I was saying that I believe it's going to be Marquette. This is a new start for Shaka Smart, but looking at all this talent that you have to offer, that you have on their team, they're one of the most well-balanced teams. They actually have guys coming off their bench that can do things. You got guys that are some good scorers, some good big men. It's interesting, but what the most important part of your team is your point guard. And having a true point guard that can make plays, facilitate, and just, fake passes and do a lot of crazy, if you're a point guard that can pass the ball, obviously you're going to be a good point guard. And that is exactly who Tyler Kolek is. Obviously, he came from some small school and then transferred to Marquette last year. He was pretty much a role player. I mean, of course, the starting point guard was Daryl Morcell last year, and Kolek did start. However, he was the guy that was only passing the ball. And I was noticing, I'm like, this guy, when he becomes the starting point guard next year, he is going to be electric. And I was right. Obviously, the only thing I was waiting for is, like, if this guy shows any sign of offense, that, the scoring ability, this guy is going to be really unstoppable. So far, he's actually living up to it. He's averaging 10.8 points a game, 4.3 rebounds, 8 assists. That's third in the country for games, and I think that's third assist overall. Also, he's got 1.7 steals. He's also really good when it comes to playing some good outside perimeter defense. He can get a lot of steals, and he is averaging a 48% from the field goals. So that's good. Obviously, the one thing I do want to see is maybe he can shoot more. The type of scoring that I'm seeing from him is him driving to the basket more. He can shoot, but he doesn't do it as much as I'd like, so maybe he could do a lot more of that. That could really progress his game, but man, this guy may be one of the best passers you'll ever see. Without him, I think Marquette would just be an average team. He is just a purely excellent player, and it's exciting to just see what he can do. There are some really great guys on the team. So you have your point guard. Then you also got, let's go over the rest of the starting lineup. Next up, we have Cam Jones. Pretty much has been playing the small forward position, even though he is a guard. He is the best playmaker on the team, per se, averaging 16 points a game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.6 steals. He has a 49 field goal percentage and a 37 from 3. And you know what? He is pretty much got the best looking shot on the team. I mean, he pretty much has the most 3-pointers on the team because the guy takes the most shots out of anybody. He can really make it rain in some games. Last year, he only averaged, I think 7-8 points a game or something like that. And he was coming off the bench and he was doing things. Now he's really certified as the #1 scoring option on this team. He is turning into a great player. I'm not going to sit there and say, we're going to see this hit from him every single game, but he can definitely do a lot of things. And it's absolutely exciting to see you get a playmaker that really has the ability to drive to the basket, make plays, also play defense, shoot the ball well, especially beyond deep. That's something you really want to see. Next up, you got your forwards, your power forward and your center pretty much. I call them the double O's, the killer O's, whatever you want to say. Olivier Maxence Prosper, people call him Omax on TV. He averages 14 points a game, 4 rebounds. Also, a steal a game. He's also really good on perimeter defense, interior defense. He's super good at interior defense. He's a really great guy you want to have. Also 35% from deep, which is a comfortable range. He doesn't take as many 3-pointers, but he does, and sometimes can be a very solid 3-point shooter. A defender in his own mind, he's a great guy, and honestly, averaging 14 points a game, if he sticks around for his remaining eligibility years, I could definitely see him improving over years, and he could actually make the NBA. I could definitely see that he's the type of, he could be a great power forward in the NBA. The other forward, really, he's our center. 6'9", undersized center, Oso Iguodaro. I think for his, he may be not a big man, but he is a very athletic guy. Last year, he was our backup center, only averaged 5 points a game, but he's really come up big, averaging 12 points a game, leading the team in rebounds, with 6 rebounds and having 1.8 blocks a game. That's most on the team. Dude gets a lot of blocks. He's athletic. Actually, his field goal percentage is 68.2, which is outstanding. He almost gets most of his baskets because mostly a lot of it are passes. And also, for a center, he averages 3 assists. So, for centers that, can pass the ball, I can say are really impressive. And, you know, he's one of the best role players that you could really have on a team. And I think, you know, having scorers like Jones, Prosper, and Iguodala are super, super important. And that's what makes Kolek a great player. You've got those three scorers to really rely on. Obviously, after that, we also have a guy that comes off the bench. We have a small forward, David Joplin from Milwaukee. Also, technically, I think he is the best shooter on the team. He comes off the bench, shoots 41.5% from three-point land, and, you know, averaging 10 points a game. In the last game, I think he had like 8 threes and 28 points, his career high. Definitely a guy that you can leftly see. You want a guy coming off the bench giving you that amount of points. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Steve Novak, you know, when he came off the bench in that championship year. I don't know, he only averaged, I think, 5 points a game, but he was a fantastic shooter and a defender. Great guy that you really want on your team. And I think Joplin is a great example of someone you want coming off the bench and giving damage. Also, their last starter, who pretty much has been playing at the 3 for mostly this season, Stevie Mitchell. He is their guard. He also plays point guard, but he is pretty much the team's. He's really good at defense, and that's the only reason why they start him. He's not really offensive because he only averages 6 points a game, 2 rebounds, one assist and 1 steal. But pretty much, you know, he is a guy that's there. He plays defense. Also, some of the guys that come off the bench, like Chase Ross, he's a 4-star coming out of high school. Dude was an athlete. I mean, I was looking at this guy and I'm like, oh, this guy could really turn into a star in the next couple years. I think he had a couple posterizing slams, but this is a guy that you could definitely be excited about. Also, Sean Jones, another guy. You know, another one of those freshmen. He's a little undersized, but he could definitely be a great defensive spark off the bench. Those guys only average, I think, 4 or 5 points a game, but they can definitely be huge contributors. Ben Gold is the only other guy that really gets any other minutes. He's their backup center, but I've been hearing some, you know, I think they want to work him in there. He's a 6'11" guy. He's their tallest guy on the team. Can shoot from outside. He's from New Zealand. Another guy to be excited for the future. So that's all I can say on that. But it's exciting to just see that this team can really be a great team. They got some games to still play, some tough ones on the road. They still got to play in UConn, in Creighton. They got to play Xavier again. And, you know, there's some, you know, and a lot of these other games that they've played, they've seemingly been some easy wins. They still got to play Georgetown again. I think you got to play St. John's Butler twice, DePaul, I think, once. But you know what? I think this team might actually have a legitimate shot. The only thing that is preventing this team from winning a championship is that some of these guys don't have the best IQ. Now, other than Tyler Kolek, who is absolutely phenomenal, he's pretty much like, I think he's even better than Travis Deemer. He will end up being better than Travis Deemer. I mean, I will be honest. But when you have a guy like that commanding your offense, that's the best thing you could have. These guys are just they're just athletes, but I really want to see them really progress. You know, Joplin, only a sophomore. Omax Prosper is, I think, a junior. Also, I think would be he is listed as a sophomore, but I know he redshirted a year, so he technically is a junior. Cam Jones, only a sophomore. None of these guys are seniors, so you get these guys for at least one more year. So even if they don't make a run in the tournament this year, absolutely you could see that next year. I mean, this Marquette team and the future that Shaka Smart is putting together definitely reminds you of what Tom Crean did. Now, I don't think Cam Jones is as good as Dwayne Wade, but time could tell. He could improve next year or something if he sticks around. But this is a new start for Marquette. This is the start that you'd want. And I think there's nothing. You should just be excited if you are a Marquette fan. I think that this team could definitely make a lot of noise in the tournament this year. Do I think that there's a championship in the future? Possibly. But time will tell. So that's all I'm going to say. I just figured I'd talk a little Marquette because they're looking very promising this year. I was going to make videos on, you know, my predictions for how Marquette and the Badgers would do this season, but you know what? Marquette is doing a lot better than I expected, and maybe they'll win the Big East this year. Maybe they'll make a big tournament run, there's a lot of promise. You know, Tom Crean and Buzz Williams were some great coaches, but I think Shaka Smart definitely has an opportunity to put himself on these ranks as one of the best Marquette coaches we ever had. But only time will tell. This is only his second year, but things will happen. That's what's important. So if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, and as always, we will see you next time.